It is mock draft time on Locked On 49ers, getting you ready for the Combine and the NFL draft, a very special mock draft. Croc and I stepping aside. This is a listener mock draft. You be the GM on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us, and thanks for making us the number one sports podcast network. And Croc, it pays to tune in live. Because if you're just listening audio, and it's cool, we love all our audio listeners, but occasionally jump in live with this because you get a chance to make picks and be a part of the program, as the live chat will be today on YouTube on our live edition here. A mock draft Monday. It's Sunday night as we record this, but a lot of folks be listening to this on their way to work, maybe Monday morning, maybe having a holiday. Some people have it off. Some people do not. I will not have it off. I'll be working here. We'll be breaking down more prospects on tomorrow's episode of Locked On 49ers, but today it is mock draft time, and today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel. And very special offer from FanDuel for the NBA Finals. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Croc. Before we start jumping into this mock draft, let's set some ground rules here. Is this more of a let the listeners do whatever they want to do? Are we trying to get into the head of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch? So essentially, here's how I'd like to do this, actually, Croc. I want you to be Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
I want the listeners to be John Lynch, and I'll be sort of the Tariq Ahmad in this situation. You know, the scouting department. I'm going to try to lead in a certain direction. Croc, I want you to lay out as head coach of this football team what you want our listeners, the GMs, to accomplish in this mock draft today.
Well, that sounds good to me because I'm pretty sure with my assistant GMs or my GM/assistant GMs in the chat, they're going to guide us in the right direction. I'll say some of the things that I like or don't like about a prospect, but I'm looking forward to hearing their feedback and pulling the trigger on some of these picks.
I love it. We're going to go into this with less idea of anything that happened in free agency, because I think if you go, you almost have to start with the draft, then go to free agency, then come back to the draft. Because if you think the draft is really strong in one place, maybe that's a place you don't want to really dip that hard into free agency, because you know you want to go there in the NFL draft, right? And so it can inform where you're going to spend your money, and vice versa. Then you go spend your money, and then you know really where your team is going into it. And I don't think you should always expect that you're going to get a ton of immediate returns from your rookie class anyway, Croc. We see it every year. Maybe a third rounder plays awesome and plays all year. Maybe a fifth rounder earns a starting job, but maybe a first or second rounder doesn't hardly play at all for you, or a third rounder, right? And so those types of things happen. You can't expect everybody to just roll right in and be a huge part of it. So I think I usually lean free agency, immediate need, and draft. You have to get really good football players, and it's hard to find certain players in certain rounds as well. So I think that's going to have to be a conversation when we start talking about the first round pick, Brock. So with all that said, let's get this thing started. I love the new tool they have at sticktothemodel.com, and doing a phenomenal job there. And we're going to use Stick to the Model as our mock draft sim on today's program. We're doing 7 rounds for the 49ers. Maybe we'll do a trade. Maybe we won't. We're not going to go trade crazy here, Croc. We're not trying to game the system. You know what I mean? So as it pertains to the draft, and as it pertains to, you know what I'm going to have to do is stop sharing for a second so I can click the button, because the button was not.
While you're doing that, shout out to Anthony in the chat. Says Croc is probably going to trade Kittle. I'm not sure Kittle would still be a 49er if it were up to Eric Crocker. So maybe it's good that I'm not the head coach / GM.
Wow.
And I love Kittle. You know, it's just, Bill Belichick. And it didn't always work out for him. But, get rid of a guy a year too soon as opposed to a year too late.
All right, I got
Is rupture Achilles him being traded a year too late? I don't know.
All right, here we go. I'm going to start this draft, and then I'll bring it back up on the screen. I'm fighting off a cough. As you can tell, my voice is probably sounding a little bit raspy right now. So I'm trying to fight through this. No days off here, Croc, at Locked On 49ers. That's how we get to be the number one podcast network here at Locked On. What are you looking for, Croc, in round number one? Do you want a playmaker, ideally? Do you want a offensive or defensive lineman, ideally? When it comes to the first round, I know that, man, offensive tackles go fast. And if you don't get one early, then maybe you don't get one at all if that's what you're shopping for. I have a feeling, though, the 49ers have their tackles, and they like to go a little bit more need. Do you think they'll try to get a year ahead of positions like tackle and center? Because I don't think they're going to try to replace Brendel, and I don't think they're going to replace any offensive tackles this year. But it would be nice to have a guy ready for next year, potentially, in those situations or for injuries.
I think there are clearly areas where the 49ers could address and the team would really like to improve on, particularly in the interior of the offensive line. But I agree with Howdy and several other people in the chat. You got to go best player available. Like, you just have to. And if that best player is an interior offensive line, take it. Now, again, best player available / need. So you kind of want to balance the two in a sense. You don't want to just draft a player that's way off and he won't even have a role at all for your squad. But I do believe to a certain extent you have to lean best player available, and you can never have too many good football players. And that's what the 49ers need to get, good football players.
I agree. It's all about good football players. And I don't think drafting for need is the strongest way to do it. And I think that's where the 49ers have gotten into some trouble in the past. But you have to consider need. You have to consider positional value as well, or you will start to get into trouble. So it's a fine line, and you got to do a little bit of both in some cases. All right, so let's bring this up on the screen here. Sticktothemodel.com is where we're doing our draft sim, and we're going to get this thing going and start. First of all, are we trying to trade up, Croc? I feel like trade ups is not the place the 49ers should be right now.
Well, if we're trading up, man, there's some really good, terrific players. There's a guy by the name of Caleb Downs. I don't know how high you have to trade up to get him, but, man, I would love to have that safety here for the 49ers. Is that Jeremiah Love? Did I just see Jeremiah Love there?
Yeah, Jeremiah Love.
Terrific running back. Wouldn't mind having a Jeremiah Love. I am not big on drafting running backs top 10 at all, but definitely like even in the first round. So we'll see where the 49ers land and who's being picked. Fernando Mendoza. Wow, what a shocker.
Mendoza won here, as you would expect. A bunch of defensive linemen and pass rushers to follow. You do have where we at here? Jeremiah Love.
Jordan Tyson. I will say that is a receiver. I was watching some defensive backs, and I got a chance to just watch them and kind of view them a little bit different as a prospect. He's made up of the right stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play this through. The top 10 guys are going in the top 10 that I think would even be someone who would have to fall quite a bit to be considered for the 49ers to go up and get. And then those guys just aren't there. So here we are, Croc, now at pick 27. And according to the big board here on Stick to the Model, Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu is the number one player available. Kevin KC Concepcion, we've talked about him. I know you are a fan of his explosive ability, run after catch ability. Wide receiver out of Texas A&M is the number 2 player. Caleb Banks, big defensive tackle out of Florida, has had some injury problems in his college career, but man, he is a beast. Georgia offensive tackle Monroe Freeling is there. You got Emmanuel McNeil Warren, a really athletic safety out of Toledo that we talked about on the last episode here, Croc. And then a couple other dark horse players I just want to talk about really quick. And I think our next episode is going to be about offensive tackles. The 2 I already mentioned, and the third being Max Ihonekor, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Interesting prospect, born in Nigeria, didn't start playing football until basically junior college and got himself into a D1 program at offensive tackle, has all the traits, maybe a little bit raw, has only played football for 5 years of his life. But played a lot of basketball and soccer. So he's got the footwork of a much smaller human being, even though he's 6 foot, 5.5 and 325 pounds. Could he be a player that long-term could develop into a tackle, but you could start at guard early? So that's a really interesting one for me. And then a guy like R. Mason Thomas is someone who's, I think, a dark horse right now, could blow up the combine, a speed rusher. He's not one of the top few available listed here, but I think he might have an opportunity to climb because he's just explosive and all twitched up coming off the edge, Croc. I'm going to look at the chat here in a second, but what are your feelings here? How do you advise your GM as the board falls in at what the 49ers could need? I think you're muted, Croc.
My bad. I was muted. I like the sounds of an offensive tackle that can start off at guard and potentially move outside. It has good athleticism, good feet because he played other sports. I love the thoughts of Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, right? A guy at the safety position who possesses size, but also a lot of speed. Can he pick up on the, a little bit better anticipation, and those type of things? But the playmaking ability, the flying around, athleticism, the ability to tackle in space, he definitely has that. Those are two positions right there where I feel like the 49ers are in a great range to be able to grab one of those two guys. You want to go offensive tackle that could play guard, or do you want to go safety and get a guy that potentially will be a legit day one starter there because you've been playing kind of musical chairs with some of the other guys?
Akeem Mesidor as well is shouted out in the chat. I did not mention him, but he was in Matt Barrow's first mock draft this week as the first round pick for the San Francisco 49ers. Defensive end out of Florida, very productive guy. Older prospect, will be 25 to start his rookie NFL career. 6'3", 275 pounds, 280 pounds, very productive player. But an older prospect, Croc. How much do you put into the stock of a player being awesome and draftable at age 19 versus taking a while and being 23, 24, 25 years old?
Well, I think now that's the norm. Players aren't rushing to go to the NFL anymore. That used to be the number one goal, but now it's stay in college, make as much money as you can, apply and fight for a fifth and sixth year. And then eventually, when you've milked college for everything it has, you go to the pros. So I think we're going to see a lot of older prospects over really until they fix whatever's going on in college football. But guys aren't rushing to get out. So I think that's going to be the norm. 23, 24, 25-year-olds from here on out.
All right, Croc, you tally up the votes in the chat. We will make that pick in the first round and for the rest of the rounds of the 49ers. And I promise we'll go a little bit faster. We just had to set the stage for this live listener mock draft on today's Locked On 49ers next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Zocdoc. Finding your doctor you actually like really can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network nearby and has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens, who makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. You got to be comfortable with your doctor, but those kind of doctors do exist, and you can find them easy with Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. And you can see real-time availability, book instantly, no phone calls, no waiting on hold. We're talking about in-person visits or video visits as it fits your schedule. And whether you want to go in person or video, Zocdoc makes that all easy either way. And you can also read verified patient reviews so you can feel confident choosing a doctor that you actually like. No matter the symptoms, you can search by symptom, by specialty, and actually build a care team that works for you. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to Zocdoc for sponsoring this message. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Listen up. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board, thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. It is the futures time of year, excuse me. Whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Croc, what are the results? Who are the San Francisco 49ers going to select in the first round of this listener mock draft? And by the way, if you didn't get a chance to get in on this and vote on this mock draft, you'll have plenty of opportunities. We'll do another one of these for sure before the NFL draft. Croc, where are we going?
You know, a lot of people are suggesting Concepcion. So I think you were right to mock him in your first mock draft that you did for the San Francisco 49ers a week ago. But there's also a lot of people that are saying Messidor. And I know we want to go D-line. So this is tough because I think we are kind of looking for kind of immediate impact, right? Whether it's on offense, defense, and whatnot. Oh, man. Receiver or D-line? And the 49ers have put a lot of resources into D-line over the last couple of years, drafting an edge/interior pass rusher with top 15 pick last season. Also going D-line with the second round pick with Alfred Collins. Also going D-line with CJ West. So the 49ers support a lot of resources into that. So they go first round DN again.
The chat pointing out that Kyle Shanahan doesn't like playing rookie wide receivers, but I would like to point out
he does not like to play them. I agree.
Right, and I would like to point out to you, Crocky Shanahan, if you're going to be the tiebreaker here between Mesidor potentially and KC Concepcion, where does Michael Williams fit in if you draft Akeem Mesidor in the first round? Because he is an every down, full-sized defensive end. One of those, right. Either last year's first rounder or this year's first rounder sitting, because Nick Bosa, 97, he's not sitting.
Right. And that's the part, right? Like, having a plan. What is their plan for Michael Williams? And do you have anybody else that you can play in the meantime, right? And I think they do. They have Huff. They have White, guys recovering from injuries, but they have some other guys there that they can play, as well as Michael Williams recovering from injury. This is a tough one.
One more note here, and a good point from where's he at in the chat? I just saw it. It's getting fast and furious in the chat. Rick James Franco in the chat, nice handle, says target Omar Cooper Jr. in the second if you want a yak wide receiver. So this is a good point. By pick 58, those edge rushers are going to dry up. And it's okay to have an extra edge rusher, right? If you do go edge rusher in the first round, there will more likely be wide receivers that you like on day two than there will be edge rushers on day two. And you could say the same thing about offensive tackles as you do about edge rushers as well. So this might be the time. And look, we just saw the Seattle Seahawks have like a rotation of 8 different guys that can rush after the quarterback. So having one too many edge rushers, and we know how quickly injuries can happen. Maybe that's not a bad idea. And guess what? You could put Michael Williams and Mesidor and Bosa all on the field on third downs too.
I think the right way to go with this, Emmanuel McNair-Warren. I think that's the one spot where it doesn't feel like it's overly crowded with a lot of high investments in the position, matched with obviously his ability to be a guy that comes in and give the 49ers something much different than they have with any other guy in their back here right now.
Now, Crocky Shanahan, as we know, is the top of the pyramid, and what he says goes. Are you going to go against the listeners in this mock?
I don't think it's going against. I see a lot of people saying
I see his name in there, but not nearly as much as Mesidor or KC Concepcion.
Yeah,
but you're the tiebreaker. It's up to Crocky Shanahan to ultimately make that call. If you want to go,
this is a tough one too, because I know we're spending a lot of time on this. I wonder if the war room will be like this as well. But
we
just talked about the receiver being able to get a yak guy.
Again,
you know what? I am going to pull rank. I'm going to pull rank. We're going to figure it out. We're going Messidor with the first pick. We're going Messidor with the first pick. We're going to load up. You can never have too many defensive linemen. Guys are hurt all over the place. We'll figure out what to do with him and Michael Williams. But we're going D-line. We're going D-line.
Right, there we go. We're not going to mess around
with
I'm
not doing this. I'm not going to factor in White or Huff into our long-term plans. And essentially, I was kind of viewing them, but those are short-term guys. So we got long-term situation here. Michael Williams is always going to slide inside on passing situations and things like that. So yeah, we got to go D-line. Got to.
Connor Lew, a very interesting name. Akeem Mesidor out of Miami, by the way, the pick in the first round of this listener live mock draft. We're going to have to go a little bit faster here, but a good point in the chat. And Croc, I think it's smart to attack offensive tackle edge in the first round if it is a need, because it's much easier to find a wide receiver later. It's much easier to find a safety and some other positions like that a little bit later. Interior offensive line a little bit later, especially in this draft where I think those are some pretty deep positions, unless you're really blown away by that player at that position in the first round. So I think
everybody in the chat, they said in Croc we trust.
Yep.
All right. They said in Croc we trust. Everybody said that they need a safety, right? And that's what they said. You got Keontae Scott right here for the taking. You got Keontae Scott out of Miami right here for the taking. That is a good football player right there.
By the way, there was a write-in for Omar Cooper Jr. He went just a few picks ahead, 53 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver, right after him as well. Jennings Dunker, I know, is a fan favorite to potentially play left guard for the San Francisco 49ers. Potentially a right tackle, probably not a left tackle of the future out of Iowa. He just went off the board as well. So now as we sit, let's look at the safeties. It's a deep class. You got Bud Clark down there still. Kamari Randall. Say again, Croc?
I said, got my guy, Bud Clark, right there. So yeah. I think with him being picked 100 or projected 103, yeah, I think we can hold off on the safety position. We got to kind of play that game a little bit.
Okay. Let's take a look at offensive tackles. Not a lot there. Some of these tackles might actually play guard in the NFL. If you wanted to look for a left guard that could start immediately, I think Chase Besantis out of Texas A&M, Connor Lew, injury problems, which is always an asterisk you put by some of these players. And is it even worse of a fit for the 49ers? But man, he could be a center for sure of the future for the San Francisco 49ers. Keelan Rutledge, Brian Parker, some of those guys might be available. Jake Slaughter by the next pick for the 49ers. Wide receiver, you got Jacoby Lane, Elijah Surratt. You got Malachi Fields, who was really good at the Senior Bowl as well. Ted Hurst, small school guy. Dude can eat up ground with his long strides. You've got a few corners that could potentially be available if the 49ers want to go in that direction, and some safeties that are still available, Croc, in that direction. Where's the chat leaning on this one? We'll make one pick here. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back and finish it quickly. We might have to do one where the first name that gets thrown out there is the one we take. Let's see. Jadarian Price, running back, I see. Malachi Fields. Elijah Surratt, Jacoby Lane, or Malachi Fields.
You can't go Jacoby Lane. Like, he's just not a Kyle Shanahan receiver. Terrific hands. Legs. Terrific hands, but not quite a Kyle Shanahan guy. The other guy that was going in the first round is more of a Kyle guy. Ooh. All right. I'm looking, guys. I'm looking.
President in the chat. Okay. No Cooper, no Bernard, no Dunker. They all went. So it's down to Jacoby Lane.
I'm seeing a lot of Malachi Fields. I'm seeing a lot of that in the chat.
I don't know if he fits Shanahan either. We're talking about a big-bodied guy. I think Elijah Surratt fits a little bit better. Not a burner at all, but he can get open. He's tough.
Surratt's the kid from Indiana, correct?
From Indiana, yeah. My comp, who was my comp for Elijah Surratt when I watched him? Keenan Allen is my comp for Elijah Surratt. 6'2". He's not going to run super fast, but he can get open on the intermediate level, smooth, great hands. That's the type of player he is. You got Malachi Fields, who's a big body downfield guy. Jacoby Lane's got those just, he's all legs, but more of an X wide receiver because the 49ers do need an X. I think any of those three guys could fit as an X receiver.
Ooh.
I think Fields is the most common name, Croc.
Well, he transferred from Virginia. Let's go with Malachi Fields. Let's get them. I mean, I'm Kyle Shanahan for the night, and the 49ers need a legit X type of receiver, especially if you're losing Juwan Jennings. Not only do you need an X, but you need kind of that bigger body, move the sticks type of possession type of guy. You get him here in the second round. I think this is a really good spot. So let's go Malachi Fields for sure.
And he will block you as well. So Kyle Shanahan will like that aspect of his game. Physical, 6'4", 220-pound wide receiver. In round 2 to the San Francisco 49ers. That card has been turned in. The 49ers now on the clock at pick 92. We'll finish up the rest of this draft. And the first name that we see, I'm going to filter it through Coach Crocky. And those are going to be the picks for the rest of this listener mock draft 1.0. We're going to do a lot of listener mock drafts. I have a feeling this draft season on Locked On 49ers coming up. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. TurboTax full service. You can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year, just file by February 28. Hurry up. You only got a couple weeks left. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right. Akeem Mesidor, edge rusher out of Miami. Notre Dame wide receiver Malachi Fields in the first 2 rounds. Some athleticism as well as some size, Croc. And 2 important things. Kind of found a little bit of both with both of the first 2 picks, who we see now that the listeners are nominating for you, Crocky Shanahan, to make that selection in the 3rd round of this 49ers mock draft.
Well, I'm seeing safety, and we've talked a lot about Bud Clark, and I'm seeing Bud's name pop up. One concerning thing, especially for a safety, Bud Clark, 6'1", 185 at the Senior Bowl. I mean, terrific skill set, terrific ability, loved all that. 195, a little light Nas, a little light Nas. But
he very likely won't be there at pick 127. Now, the 49ers do have 3 4th-round picks back to back to back, not quite back to back to back, but all in pretty short succession. But it's going to be about it's going to be a full round before that pick is on the clock to start those 3 picks at the end of round 4. And if you like a player here, he is not going to be there a little bit later, and probably not at the next pick. Here's a good point, Croc. Jimmy Ward, 5'11", 185.
I just Googled Jimmy Ward and to look at his measurements at the combine. 5'10" and 5'8", so just shy of 5'11", 193 pounds. Not the biggest of guys, right? So I think there is a scenario where you go and you get a guy and you say, hey, we're gonna have to add about 10 pounds on you your rookie year. We'll get you right. We got the chefs, we got the meals, we got all the stuff for you. So I'm gonna go Bud Clark. We are taking ability, traits, and we're gonna beef him up a little bit in that NFL weight room.
And look, he might be 190 by the time the combine comes around here in a few weeks. You see that a lot with prospects. All right, we got 3 picks here coming up in quick succession. So what are the nominations here in the chat? Get them in quickly. I'm looking at interior offensive line, I think, Croc. A running back.
We can go tackle and move him to interior offensive line.
Right. I think running back starts to become very much in play when you start talking about day 3 of the draft. Tight end for sure is a need for the San Francisco 49ers. I think you could talk about linebacker. You could throw in another defensive lineman, potentially a pass rushing.
I think right here, you got to go. We talked about going best player available. Drew Bowery right there. He is an offensive tackle that we plan to play inside. 6'5", 308 right here. The scouting report talks about, he's a developmental type of offensive tackle, but good size, raw potential, which probably means, hey, he's probably a good athlete. So that's a guy right there where I'm like, you know what? Put him in the inside to start off, and we'll see if we can develop him in the other areas of his game.
There we go. Jude Bowery with the first of 3 selections in the 3rd round of the draft for the 49ers. I see some other names out there that might still be there just a few picks later. Here we go. Round 4, pick 133. Bo Stevens, a guard. He could come in and potentially start. I saw his name out there. He's still on the board, Croc. Double up on offensive lineman here.
Double up.
Bo Stevens could play some center. Bowery could play some guard, right? So I like it. Double up. Bo Stevens and Bowery with the first 2 picks of the 4th round. Final pick of round 4 here, pick 138. There's only one more pick, a 5th rounder for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to nominate 2 names, Croc, right away. It is Justin Joly, who is a 6'3", 251-pound move tight end out of the University of North Carolina State. And then more of the traditional Y tight end in Joe Royer out of Cincinnati, 6'5", 250. Both players I like quite a bit. I think I might like Jolie a little bit better in the receiving game for the 49ers. It depends on what they do in free agency. Do you need the Y tight end? Do you want the move tight end? But I would definitely nominate potentially those 2 players for the 49ers with this selection. And Damon Claiborne was in my last mock draft. Dude's fast. We're talking 4.3 breakaway speed. I don't know if there's any other names here.
Well, there you go. I think you have to go for speed at the running back position. We just talked about that. Where are the explosive plays out of the backfield? Everybody blaming the offensive line. I think that the 49ers just don't have the home run hitters in the backfield, or at least any of their guys that actually got touches and got the ball. So Chris McCaffrey, terrific. Clearly, he showed that he can be more than durable. He was a super volume player for the 49ers this past season. But if there's any one guy or one area where the 49ers need to be more explosive, receiver, of course. But, man, that running back room, they need a legit type of guy that can really create some explosive plays on his own. I think that's Claiborne.
I see a lot of people saying linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. He's one of my favorites. He was in my first ever mock draft going back to late 2025 season for the 49ers. He's risen quite a bit. He's already off the board in this mock draft. We're going speed at running back, Claiborne. Is any other running back going to see the field, Croc? Would be my question here. Is it worth it? There's still a 5th round pick to go.
I think it's worth it because I think, almost like the defensive line pick in the 1st round, you got to start to plan a little bit for the future. How much more tread on those tires does Christian McCaffrey have? Maybe he plays another 5 years, and that's fine.
I think the chat likes the speed of running back too, Croc.
I know, right? You see, and I see Isaac Guerendo, but clearly the 49ers are telling you how they feel about Isaac Guerendo.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like he's a guy that shouldn't be on the field, and they liked not just Robinson at running back more than Guerendo, but as a returner as well.
By the way, 100-yard return this year for Damon Claiborne as well. Love it. Damon Claiborne. Speed.
Let's get fast.
Added to the 49ers backfield. All right. Last pick here for the San Francisco 49ers. Could go corner, could go linebacker, could probably go D-line, could go tight end here. You got Sam Roush, the Y tight end out of Stanford, 6'5", 260 pounds. The 49ers like their Stanford prospects. Potentially the chat acting as a former Stanford guy there, making our selections. And John Lynch, he still hangs around the program. We know that as well. He's been to practice. He's had his eyes on Sam Roush. You got TJ Hall, the corner from Iowa. You got Devin Marshall, the corner from NC State. You got Bryce Betcher, the inside linebacker from Oregon, who was also drafted to play Major League Baseball as well. So very good athlete there.
I'm trying to see who the base thinks we should go with on this one.
What's that?
So I'm looking to see who the 49er fan base thinks that we should draft on this one. Injustice in the chat. Nick Winkler wants a special teams player here.
Wink would want to go special teams. I think you got to have a guy that can play some special teams potentially here. Let's see. We got Cole Wisniewski. We already went safety, so we're not going to go double dipping there, I don't think, at safety.
Did both of those tight ends get taken?
Both tight ends did go since the last pick. There is some other tight ends there on the board, a number of them actually. In fact, the top 5 players according to the board here, the positions we're looking at are tight ends. I could probably lead toward the Stanford guy, Croc. A wide tight end. I don't think Luke Farrell was great for the 49ers here. Looks like the chat, it's the most common name here. We're looking tight end. Xavier Sori. Let's see. We need another corner, according to Jerry. Let's see. Roush.
I wouldn't mind getting another corner, but I think we got to go tight end here.
I think it's Roush.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Josh Cuevas, tight end, a late addition here from Alabama. We're staying local. We're going Sam Roush, right? Croc, tight end, 6'5", 260, a wide tight end, got some good speed, versatile athlete, plus the size to be that inline blocker at tight end that potentially needs to play some important snaps with George Kittle potentially out to start the year. Yeah. There you go.
Leave Stanford players at Stanford.
Not in this one. Sam Roush is the pick, and the draft is now over for the San Francisco 49ers. Here's how it went. Round 1, Akeem Mesidor, defensive end out of the University of Miami, sack artist. 3 older prospects, by the way, to start this draft. Malachi Fields, Bud Clark, and Mesidor were all 5 or 6, I think, year seniors in college football this year. Malachi Fields, big Notre Dame wide receiver, phenomenal hands, downfield playmaker, ex-wide receiver that the 49ers do need in round 2. Going Bud Clark, safety out of TCU, ball hawk in round 3. Jude Bowery, offensive tackle from Boston College. And then Bo Stevens, a guard from Iowa with the first 2 fourth-round picks. Then Damon Claiborne, speedy wide receiver, or a speedy running back, ridiculously fast running back. I want to stress that, out of Wake Forest. And then Sam Roush, 6'5", 260-pound tight end out of Stanford in the 5th round, pick 171. And that is our listener mock draft. Thank you so much to all the listeners, everyone who was jumping in live and helping us out. Make sure you tune in and subscribe on YouTube. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live, so you can get involved in the next listener live mock draft or our next mock draft, which is going to be just all Eric Crocker. The Croc mock, I think, is going to be coming up sometime soon as well. Combine's coming up, free agency. Stay tuned. We're here for you every single day, and check out the Everydayer Club, lockedon49ers.supercast.com, or check the link in the show notes for an ad-free feed, audio feed of this podcast, and an invite to the chat in the come on. The Discord, I think, is going to blow up, and I got to get Croc in the Discord server, but you will get a members only Discord server invite as well as part of the Everydayer Club. And Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.